Nico's.
Alright, so we're back here at the list, and I was debating on this. Debating on how big to make my A tier list, how big to make my B tier list. I really didn't want anybody to be in a D tier because I don't think any of these characters are bad. I think they just come with certain kind of things that make them more difficult, more easier to pick up, and have a better utility as a team. I want to say though, definitely my A tier and my B tier, I'm just gonna throw them up there, and we're just gonna talk about them. I'm just gonna give you my reasons why. So before I finish this A tier list, these are going to be my my last A tier character in the game. I know, it's not Iron Man. It's definitely going to be Kate. It's got to be Kate, bro. Kate is going to be my last A tier character. My first B tier character is Iron Man, and I'll give you my reasons why I chose her over Iron Man right now. Alright, first and foremost, I know a lot of you people are probably going to be mad about me picking her over Iron Man, and some of you are probably going to look at the screen and be like, well, your power is, you don't even use her for real, what are you talking about? Or you can see my Iron Man and be like, you don't even know what you're talking about. My game did get reset, unfortunately I had to redo everyone from start again. So this is me playing again a second time, leveling everyone. You can go look at my previous videos if you don't believe, and check the power levels and see how different they are. But so let's get into Kate. Why I feel that she has more utility overall versus Iron Man, and why I feel like she's a better choice than Iron Man for my last A tier character. So she has quantum energy. Just to break it down, quantum energy, it's going to give you energy build up that automatically, when not being used, and drained by various amounts depending on the actions performed. So she can, this is her intrinsic meter. It builds on its own when you're not doing anything. It just continuously fills itself. First thing we're going to talk about is quantum shift. That's her parry. A lot of people have issues with her parry, but it's something that you need to see about her parry. It teleports her behind the enemy, which puts her in a great critical chance stance. It gives you a sword slash with quantum energy, staggering the enemies. It just staggers them, and also it exposes them to other attacks. It's an automatic attack based off her parry. All you gotta do is time it. Enemies recently been parried have decreased impact resistance, making them easier to interrupt. That's also high. Her damage is medium, her impact is medium, her stun is medium, and it causes stagger, and it breaks the block. Again, her meter, it doesn't cost her anything as well, and her meter charges on its own. So this is a freebie. She gets a freebie in combat by just being there. All you have to do is just be there, and you just press it. Her window's pretty high, and you can hit it. Now, quantum lift is going to be a launcher, and it's a high stun. You're going to see this a lot with her. This is the reason why I feel like she's been overlooked by the community, because they don't even really understand. Like, a lot of people are not really looking at her intrinsic ability when it comes to ranking her, because she has a very high stun, and it breaks the block of the enemy. Plus, it has high damage and high impact, and it launches them in the air. We all know how good launching is. But then she has quantum arc. This is a stumble. It's a complete knockback. It breaks the enemy's block again, high damage and high impact, and it sends them back, shocking in shockwave of energy to hit multiple enemies. So not only can she move people from her, she can hit multiple enemies in the path. Now, quantum blitz is you hold R2, then you hit square, you teleport over to the enemy, attacking with the sword strike, and does 10% critical chance, increased chance to inflict critical attack damage. So that's a 10% critical attack damage just on that ability alone. And it drains your energy, but it's a medium damage, guard block, breaks block again, medium impact, and medium stun, and the reaction is a spin. Now, if you get to her quantum strike, is when she does quantum blitz, and then you press square twice. You can do follow-up, and each with a 5% higher chance of dealing critical damage than the previous attack. So you start with a critical damage of 10. You get up to a critical damage of 20. It's 20% chance of dropping those critical damage. And the last hit of the combo is a light combo finisher that inflicts increased damage. So it's a combo finisher off of a parry. Easy damage. Does medium stands, medium stun, medium impact, medium damage, breaks the block, and does another spin and knockback. But you get down to Quantum Saber. Now this is where, again, another high stun attack, high impact, high damage, breaks the block. Just hold R2 and press triangle. You teleport above the enemy, and you do a downward slam, as you can see here on screen. I don't need to explain that, but the stun is high. So she has high stun with Quantum Lift. All you gotta do is attack. So if you put the Quantum Lift together with Counter Saber, your takedowns. You're just spamming takedowns in combat. Easy. And all you're doing is blocking. Now, attacking enemies, you can build up the overcharge meter. Once it's full, you get quantum energy. We all know this, and its duration lasts for 5 seconds. You get Quantum Dampener is another ability where it reduces the amount of energy drained from the overcharge meter by 20%. So, and then it will increase critical attack damage by 10% while overcharged. So while overcharged, you get a max crit chance. Again, crit here, crit here, crit here. You see it. You see what she's really good at. Dealing out critical damage. She's good at getting to it with this quantum energy. Now we get to her support abilities. 15 seconds, she can call out a decoy. The decoy shoots out quantum arrows and attacking enemies. It attacks whoever you can do adjustments to it. Now with after image, while decoy is deployed, you can press L1 again, and you can actually create a quantum bridge, switching places with it. So you can go one side of it. You can kind of like go back and forth in combat, which is pretty good utility depending on how you want to use it. It staggers enemies as well when you start the teleportation, and then both sides of the teleportation is going to start to stagger. So if you get in trouble, you can switch with your decoy. Medium impact, medium damage, medium stun. Here's a light show though. You can extend the duration of the decoy by 10 seconds, and with self-destruct, you can make the decoy just completely blow up, which will give you a high damage and high impact, causing a flyback. That's just naturally what she can do. But with her passives with that, you have after image, your decoy, activating it will give you willpower, intrinsic energy back again, because you know she's big on her intrinsic energy. Also, triggering the decoy to self-destruct will refund your energy back to you, and sooner is destroyed, the larger amount of energy refunded. So that's pretty dope. So she can continuously kind of spam the decoy if you really want to, by having it destroy itself, come back, destroy itself, come back, and so it's shooting out arrows, giving you energy. So you can continuously use your decoy to get your willpower back as well as your intrinsic energy back, increasing your stun chance. Now you have cover fire. The decoy rapidly fires 3 shots on one target, increasing the total damage against that one enemy. Again, our decoy does a medium stun chance on its own, so that's good. You can also have it choosing to shoot out quantum arrows and charge quantum arrows, and these arrows themselves is the difference between medium stun and low stun, building up the stun meter. And charge quantums actually has a detonation as well. You can do quantum field. People standing near it get Shadow Jacket, reduces their damage by 35 seconds for 35% for 3 seconds. But with Healing Light, 20% of the decoy will 20% chance of decoy regenerate. Regen packs as it deals damage. Defeating arrows with withdrawn increases this chance. So it can deal its own regen packs, and if it destroys, you teleport, you explode it, it destroys, you'll get that chance back. So that's a pretty good support for her. Her heroic is also something I think that we should talk about. It comes in really part her assault heroic with this, because it draws enemies in. It's a high stun chance with a warp arrow, and it can be exploded. You can actually press R1 again after you use it, because you hold it to aim and release it, and if you press it while the arrow is still in flight, you can trigger to teleport early, so you can actually teleport into them with this ability, and you can get an immediate stun, and it launches enemies in the air, which is dope. Shadow Jacket is another thing here, and you see Shadow Jacket was over here. See how they kind of helps you out. So you can do Shadow Jacket here as well. With Shadow Jacket, it's going to give you Quantum Shroud, which absorbs 20% incoming damage for 3 seconds. And Warp Drive, increase the assault heroic meter or recharge meter by 15%. So you see, she can also always get her intrinsic back. She can always get her assault back, and she can get her sword back. This is natural. This is nothing on her. This is just how she plays. And the passive for this is Jumper. You can store a second charge for a Warp Arrow. It's actually the same with Void Walker. You get an additional charge for the Warp Arrow. So there's 3 charges you can use your Warp Arrow. When that's stun immediately. Immediately stun. You can immediately get a high stun chance. In her intrinsic, it's high stun chance. If you can see where she shines, is starting to show up. You got Wormhole. Now, Wormhole is probably not used by people, but if you really look at the ability, because it gives you portals that can be used to quickly teleport between locations. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the ability to teleport from one location to the other. It's a good traversal, but it also can be utilized in combat by putting it also with Cloak of Oblivion. It can also increase the duration of Shadow Jacket when using the arrow by 2 seconds. Teammates using Warp Hole also receive the benefit of Shadow Jacket. Only so you can give everyone this ability to decrease damage by going through your wormhole. So that's something to think about. So she has this assault heroic that actually kind of also works like a support heroic as well, because it's all about increasing. She's all about decreasing damage and critical chance, and that's why her eccentric energy needs to be high. But her singularity, which is one of my favorite ones that I use, it explodes. So singularity, it teleports the water to impact location, and instead it creates a gravity well, and it pulls nearby enemies in. So you pull them in and explode. It's just high damage, medium impact, medium stun, but I like to fly back. Now there's also, you can increase the damage of the warp arrow by 15%. So you can actually use this intrinsic energy, the singularity, and then use gravity crush. Now here's the part, her ultimate heroic, and I think it's like I said again, I think people don't really think about this. She's all about, again, damage. Now her melee damage is increased by 15% when she activates Quantum Drive. Simple. Her arrows can do a medium stun, medium damage for just quick arrows. They're really fast. You just pull them out. Or you can go for high impact and high damage with the charge ones, and it launches them in the air. And it's a normal arrow, a normal time. She gets Quantum Shroud again. An energy field that absorbs 20% damage. We already know this. So she gets Quantum Shroud. So again, more Quantum Shroud, more damage absorption. Now she also gets Edge of Eternity. That was now with an Edge of Eternity, quantum energy extends around the sword, and we know that it just shoots the arrow to damage out with another 15% increased damage. So now this is 30% melee damage increase. And then she is Flux Overflow, which extends duration for 10 seconds. Now it already has a duration of 20 seconds, so she gets a 30-second duration with a 30% melee damage increase, as you can see where she shines here. Or you can just go off her arrows and those abilities. But she has Quantum Storm. I use this a lot because her arrows breaks block, and they're really fast. But they also detonate, and they detonate on the enemy by shooting them in a bunch. And they just do this naturally, and it's an instant stun. So she can just pretty much stun anybody by just using this ability. The downside is, you're stuck in archer mode. So if they get close, they get close. But if they're close enough to see, for you to see them, they're close enough for you to see them, and you're just messing them up. And on the other side, she has Quantum Flux, defeating enemies while Quantum Overdrive is active, grants an immediate boost of willpower and regenerates additional willpower over time. Now these two should be paired, in my personal opinion, because if you're going to be shooting out the arrows, you're going to be defeating a lot of enemies, and people are going to come to you, but you can also regenerate your willpower and give yourself a regen. The second is Quantum Scythe. Sword's energy just sends out energy like it does here, but also it now just has the ability to just shoot it across the map. Now it breaks block, gives you high impact damage and stun, reactions normal, that's cool. But you can also partner that with maybe Quantum Accelerator. I like Quantum Accelerator, I just use it regardless. But your Assault Heroic energy builds 50% faster when Quantum Overdrive is active, and we know how good the Assault Heroic is for her. So the last passive here is going to be Quantum Pulse. While Quantum Overdrive is active, using Blink, Blink Jump, or Blink Dash creates ability creates a small energy explosion. That's a high stun. That's another high stun. And it staggers enemies. Again, takedowns. She triggers takedowns all the time. She can completely just deplete the stun meter of her opponents, and while doing massive amount of damage. And the last passive on the other side is damage from all quantum energy infused attacks is increased by 10% while Quantum Overdrive is active. And that's everything. That's this, that's this, that's this. And even her regular basic attacks when her intrinsic energy is up, which you know she repletes, she literally gets it back on her own. She gets her intrinsic energy back by just being in combat. So she does increased damage. Her movement ability, and her parry window is pretty decent. I don't know, it's not really like the highest parry window, but she does pretty good. But good thing is that her lucky break breaks her vault actually breaks blocks, and it interrupts attacks. So when she vaults over, it's an interrupter, and it can break a guard block, which is pretty dope. She has Blink, one of the best movements in the game besides flying. Flying is top tier. Blinking is literally second tier to flying. She has the best movement, and she can do Blink Jump with all the RX, and she can go all the way up, or she can go dash with R2 and R circle. So she has some of the best movement in the game, bro. She's like completely sweet. I know a lot of people really don't use her or think about her. I know a lot of people like the way her powers look, but I feel like over a couple of months she's probably got like overlooked, but like she is really strong. She has so much damage she can do, and she can just stun everything. I believe a lot of people need to give her a chance, and now we're gonna move on to why I put Iron Man into my B tier. Alright, so just starting off, this is the main reason why I put Iron Man in my B tier. If you pay close attention, he does not have intrinsic abilities. He has rockets, he has lasers, he has repulsors. Those use his intrinsic ability. He can still vault like everybody else. He can parry like everybody else, but his specialty in his intrinsic actually comes from using his other abilities, which gives him supercharge. Excuse me. As far as I'm concerned, that makes him unique, but it hurts him. He's one of the very few characters in the game who are intrinsic, or he might be actually the only character in the game who intrinsic really doesn't add much utility to defensive purposes. So his, just gives him better attack. Now let's get into his specialty and his assault and his ultimate. Now you see he also has a difference. He has defense, where this is where his intrinsic comes into play. He has energy shields. He has the energy shield repulse. This is where it comes into play, but it's low damage, low impact, low stun. I don't want to go through this too fast, but he has energy call. He has energy barrage where he can block stuff. Stranglehold is stronghold, gives him energy barrier by 2. He has parry strike. After successfully parrying an attack, he does a high combo finisher. It's just he's cool. Supercharge, as we know. Intrinsic meter remains fully charged, and attacks deal increased damage by 12% for 10 seconds while he's supercharged. And then he has his dodge and everything, but like again, it's weird. He's another character that can choose where he vaults, and his movements here too with flight. And Iron Man's is kind of weird. He has a plasma buffer and a 50% reduction in damage from plasma attacks, so fire doesn't really help him. His iron battery increased minimum amount of intrinsic supercharge by 10%. Rampart defeats the defeating enemies while near the energy barrier, boosts intrinsic energy by 10 points, and energy shot defensive power blast, power boost triggering energy pulse, boosts intrinsic energy by 15%. So as you can see, his intrinsic energy is more as a tool in combat than adding like a variety. But here is where he gets interesting: is Arc Overload. It's a high stun. We're talking immediate takedowns here. Arc Overload is shocks nearby enemies and triggers intrinsic overcharge for 10 seconds. While overcharge, we all know this, all range attack damage is increased and attack speed is also enhanced. Arc Confusion is a passive where Arc Overload is used. All nearby teammates are infused with the burst for 100% of intrinsic energy, so he gives everybody intrinsic energy as well. Teammates hit by the Arc Overload energy surge will instantly become overcharged, which is also dope. And increase the duration of Arc Overload by 3 seconds, which Arc Overload is by 10 seconds, so he gets 13 seconds of overcharge for him and his teammates, which is pretty cool. The utilities is EMP. Now this will deal considerable stun damage to all nearby enemies. Again, stunning. He can just spam this and just everybody gets takedowns, which is huge. Again, A tier character, 100% A tier character. Any lower than that, I don't understand how, because he's a flyer as well. But there's the intrinsic energy made him a B tier character for me, so I can understand. A and B is where I want to see Iron Man. If anybody has Iron Man lower to A and B, it's just that's a personal preference. That's just you not liking the character. But if you look at how the character is, he's pretty dog. EMP Amplifier increases the range and intensity of the electromagnetic pulse by 30%, so you can actually increase the range, which is good, and it does more damage, which is also going to keep the energy out. Now a lot of people use Arc Field. Now it gives you a bubble that protects you from incoming projectiles, and it allows no range. You can do range attacks from inside, but Arc Field changes it, and you don't get the stun. When it's done, it's pretty much just wiping out all enemies. But if you do it with Defensive Field, it reflects projectiles back into enemies. So that's dope. So if you actually use it like that as like a defensive bubble, everybody can group up and get inside, and they can just spam range attacks, which is pretty good. And everybody still getting overcharge as well. Now you do Super Arc Supercharge, increase the duration of the overcharge state by 3 seconds. So that's good. So you have a 16-second overcharge. And if you use Arc Jolt, energy burst released by Arc Overload instantly revives nearby teammates. He might not heal them, but he can definitely bring them back from the grave, which is cool because he can kind of fly in, land down, pop it, res, and you can not only come back from the dead, you come back fully charged, ready to go. That is a really useful tool. Now his Assault Heroic is Unibeam. I don't like Unibeam. Me personally, I don't know which variation of Unibeam I want to use. I'm not really a fan of it. Unibeam is good, don't get me wrong. Unibeam is a good attack because it gives you powerful beam, holding R1 extends the duration of the blast while slowly draining heroic energy. So you could just you hold it down and do more, but its damage is medium, impact is medium, and the stun is low. It increases the charge rate of Unibeam by 15%, so that's efficient coils. Overcharge Blast, Unibeam ability deals 25% additional damage to trigger with overcharge. So if he's overcharged, your Unibeam will also do additional 25%, as well as letting the charge rate go up by 15%. So his passes for this is Precision Refractor. Increases the maximum Unibeam duration by 3 seconds, which is good. So you can have a longer Unibeam, longer heroic, a lot for greater damage output. Concentrated Fire. Unibeam deals more damage to the target the longer the blast is maintained on a single enemy. When using the reserve capacitor skill, each additional shot against the same target will deal 30% more damage. And I think that's really dope. I think that's one of the things that makes him really good. He can just kind of single target with his Assault Heroic. He does real good single target damage. You could, if you want to, you can give him reserve capacitors. It gives him 3 charges on Unibeam, but short at a time. But it's a high stun. So you can pull this off with a combo, and not only does it knock down, the impact is high, the damage is high, and the stun is high, and we're talking takedowns right here. You get 3 chances to do raw takedown damage, and if you put that with triple down, repeatedly defeating 3 enemies with Unibeam will overcharge the eccentric supercharge ability. So you can use it, take down, use it, takedown, get that supercharge going. You go back into supercharge, you spam out rockets, lasers, or repulsors, use a takedown, spam out rocket rays. Like, he can just continuously just straight demolish people in combat. Again, he's a B tier character for me, simply because of how he uses his energy is really kind of based on the combat, but he is really strong. Now he has the Omega Beam. It is high damage, breaks block, high impact, and high stun. This is insane. This is the one I use because, you know, stunning is really important in this game. It's part of the game mechanics that you don't want to overlook. Takedowns are king in this game. So Omega Beam helps you a lot, and impact is really good because impact stops enemies in their tracks. And enemies defeated with Unibeam will drop heroic orbs. Is not saying that for energy condenser, it's not saying that a certain percentile. It's just saying if they're defeated, they're dropping heroic orb. So that's one of the better ones. Now, Hawkbuster. Who doesn't love Hawkbuster? Hawkbuster is dope, man. Everybody loves Hawkbuster. We all love it. It's pretty fun. You can pull it out. You don't take damage. It just, the damage you do take decreases the time in a Hawkbuster. You can eject yourself, staggering nearby enemies, which will help you with your meter. Or you can put it out selectively and let your teammates use it, which is dope, by moving where you want it to go. Now, Hawkbuster comes with Power Beam. You hold down L2 and you hold R2 to charge up a shorter laser blast. So you can aim and do a blast. This is medium stun, but it breaks block every time. And then high damage, medium impact, but it staggers the enemies. Now, there's also Magnum missiles. When using Hawkbuster, L and R1 to fire spreader-seeking missiles to target up to 5 enemies. They explode on impact, inflicting collateral damage on anybody nearby. It breaks block, does high damage, does medium impact, high stun, as well as giving you a flyback, but it does come with the Achilles heel of energy cost, which most of the time Magnum missiles will actually get you out of your Hawkbuster. Now, there's Hyper Reaction. It upgrades the Hawkbuster arc reactor to allow the armor to remain deployed for 10 more seconds. So that's pretty good to help, especially with Magnum missiles. So his passives, though, is the Unibeam. You press R1 to release the Unibeam. It does a break block. It does medium damage, medium impact. It staggers the enemies, but it does also medium cost. So it's going to pretty much get you out of there quicker. But if you do hyper coils, you can have it be deployed for 10 more seconds. So between the two of these, that's a 20-second deploy. You can do a disruption post. Will let you press R2 and you can do EM post, which is going to give you a high stun on pretty much everybody, and the cost is extremely low. So this probably is one of the best ways to use Hawkbuster for the team, because you can just spam it and spam the stun for everyone, and if you have the duration out, you can just continuously spam stun, and then everybody can just continue to do more takedowns. As again, takedowns are really important in this game because they give you regen, they give you heroic, and they give you eccentric energy back. So, and they sometimes certain characters, they just get immediate willpower by just doing takedowns. Now, Energy Star goes with this, and this is going to give you your energy reduction cost by 25%. So if you just want to do the takedown stun, I would definitely suggest Energy Star with this, 25% less, and it's already a low costing ability. Finally, there's Magnum Missile Barrage. The missile can target up to 8 enemies. Again, we know this is a high cost, but if you kind of put that with the Energy Star, it won't be as high, but targeting up to 8 enemies, and we know Magnum Missiles is a high stun, so we're pretty much knocking everyone, making them do flyback as well as getting takedowns out of it as well. And the Titanium Bravado, melee attacks have a 50% chance to taunt nearby enemies, so also you can just stay in your machine if you want to and taunt everybody and let your teammates go to work. So he has utility to be a tank as well, but pretty much range DPS is where he shines, and that is the reason why alone, like I said, I made him a B tier character. So I would like to go into more of my B tier characters, and the next character I like a lot and I think he brings a lot to the team, and the reason he's in a B tier is because he has no healing, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm talking about. And that person is going to be Captain America. Captain America is extremely solid, one of the better characters, just hands down one of the better characters, and I just love Cap. Cap is awesome. He has a lot of utility, and right now let's just look at his ability so you can see exactly what I'm talking about and the reason why I consider him as a B tier character. Alright, so Captain America. He has shield block for his intrinsic ability. As we know, you can just hold on R2. It'll drain your energy, but you can block attacks that are coming. Strong attacks will deplete all energy, and unblockable attacks cannot be blocked. So only thing he can't block is unblockable attacks. But strong attacks, though, the yellows will immediately deplete the energy, but he can stop them. The red attacks, you can't do nothing about that. Blocking does not inhibit movement and is effective in midair, so he can block anywhere. Then there's shield parry. This will deflect the imminent attack and it'll stagger the enemy. It has no stun, but it does high damage and it breaks the block. Enemy who are parried have resistance temporarily reduced, making them easier to interrupt. And this does not drain your energy. Another character who can just parry, just parry. That's just who he is. He can counter, just like Kate, just like Miss Marvel. This does not affect their energy whatsoever, so you can just parry as much as possible, and it's a good opener for combat, which is what things that are going along with it. But we'll go down in a row like we're doing before. Now there's Rebounder. This stops incoming attacks using the shield parry just before the impact reflected back at the enemy. Does not affect beams, and the cost is very low. With that is also Mirror Shield, which does use your shield to block beams to the locked on target. So if you lock on the enemy and you can block the beam, and it does drain it, but it's a low. There's Beatable Spirit. He gets it reduces the cost of the energy by 15% when blocking. There's Unyielding Might, and increasing the maximum amount of energy by 15%. And then there is Unstoppable Will, a passive that increases the energy again by 15%. So he's a 30% energy increase built in. So you can see intrinsic energy is really big with this character. Now he has Counter Strike, is what you do at the shield parry. This is a high stun. We're gonna see a lot of that in his build. If you go look at his combos, you'll see that he's one of the characters that just maximize high stun. He has high stun out the ass. Kate has high stun out the ass. Miss Marvel has high stun out the ass. Their stuns, they just stun. Like takedowns is just something that he does is in this build. This also breaks blocks, does high impact, and the reaction is a ground slide, so it immediately knocks enemies out of the way. There's also Powerhouse you can do, which is another high stun attack. He'll slam the shield to the ground, but this just breaks blocks, does high damage, high impact, and it's a launcher. Now this is a launcher. This is a combo starter, and it does high stun. So we're talking territory of just like completely using Cap to just block anything, parry everything, and just do takedowns left and right in combat. Let the enemies come to you, because that's what Cap does. Then there's Rally Cry. Now, Rally Cry is going to make enemies marked, and they take additional damage from everybody. You're going to see his symbol above their heads. This is going to do medium damage, but it breaks the block and it staggers enemies, so it immediately gets them off you. So it's a good combo initiator. Defeating enemies with Rally Cry drop heroic orbs, just straight up 25% chance of dropping heroic orbs. So you can get more Rally Cry. Enemy intel is going to do all strike team members have a 50% chance of landing critical attacks on enemies marked by Rally Cry. So it's really good for him to get in there and just get crazy, so his teammates can just go crazy. So that's really one of the best things to do is initiate with Rally Cry. Then Commander's Resolve, increase the duration of Rally Cry by 5 seconds. Rally Cry timer, it's pretty lengthy, so with that you get it again as well. So if you really want to continue being the guy who just keeps the fight going, you can do Field Commander, which is going to give you another Rally Cry by 5 seconds. Inside of that is Hold the Line, and defeated enemies by Rally Cry give you more regen back. Now you can do Point Man. Rally Cry reduces all incoming damage and targets enemies and drawing an aggro from your teammate, so he can reduce the damage from everyone like Rally Cry normally does, and make enemies take more damage, but he can also reduce the damage and then have them all target him as well. And defeated enemies with Rally Cry can drop 50% or for intrinsic energy. So you could, in theory, have him reduce damage, increase damage, keep his orb up, keep parrying, keep dropping people, keep parrying, keep dropping people, keep blocking, keep stunning, and keep takedowns going, and just completely keep the fight going. Or you could do what I've been doing recently, what is called arms. It gives you a defensive buff that reduces 25% of damage for all nearby team members. And you pair that with threat control. Critical attacks on enemies marked by rally cry deal 50% bonus stun damage. So we're talking takedowns. Again, he is, in my opinion, the best takedown character in the game. Cap's job is to get in there, beat people up, because that's what he does best. It keeps the team going. Now you go to his assault heroic, Steamroller. It's a high stun. Simple as that. Steamroller is going to get you takedowns. It breaks blocks as well. The damage is high. It does not back, so it can really clear people off you, clear people off your teammates. Honestly, it does crowd control as a passive where you get up to 6 targets, and then trick shot. You can target up to 8 enemies, so up to 8 enemies can be hit with this. Now you can do secret weapon. It holds up to 2 charges of Steamroller. Across from that, you can parry it with second wind. Every 2 enemies defeated with Steamroller generates a region pack. Then there is Tiebreaker. If you hold R2, it returns the Steamroller attack to kick the shield back out, dealing additional heroic damage. Now you can do additional damage with this, and that's good if you want to do it that way. But you can parry that with Vanguard Charge. Every 2 enemies defeated with Steamroller generates a heroic orb, so you can get the heroic ability back by destroying them with Steamroller. Or you can do what I've been doing: Consecutive Strike increases stun damage dealt by Steamroller by 25%. Again, a high damage stun with more stun. And you can parry with that, which I haven't done yet, which Everyday Hero. Every 2 enemies defeated with Steamroller generates an eccentric orb. This kind of depends on how you want your cap to be. I like to keep my cap in a fight, so I've been doing region, but I've been really thinking about going for heroic. Eccentric is good too, because again, his parry, his block is king. Steamroller is really good for that. Now, this is gonna give you Brooklyn Brawler. This is his break block. This is his ultimate Brooklyn Brawler. Now, after the shield slam, all damage and defensive strength is increased, and new light attack combo is temporarily available. So it basically just makes him use his shield as his light attacks now. Its passive is strong-willed. Instantly restores 25% of willpower, dealing damage while abilities active. Will also restore small willpower. So if you can just kind of keep yourself healed. Fighting Spirit extends the base duration of Brooklyn Brawler by 5 seconds, so you can increase it. It doesn't tell you the time of Brooklyn Brawler. Brooklyn Brawler is number around 15-20 seconds, so you can do that. While Brooklyn Brawler is activated, you can also do the passive CQC Specialist, and this will activate. Takedowns can be performed critically when enemies, just like luring people. Takedowns. You see what I'm saying? Cap does. You see what I'm saying? Cap does. Takedowns. Cap is good at clearing a room. Next one's Adrenaline Rush. Takedowns extend the duration of Brooklyn Brawler by 3 seconds. So you can technically keep Brooklyn Brawler going. Kind of like how Miss Marvel can keep him big and going, you can keep Brooklyn Brawler going, depending on how you want to play it. There's also Critically Acclaimed. Where Brooklyn Brawler's active light combo features have increased impact and deal critical damage attack. And Unwavering Defense, while Brooklyn Brawler is active, blocking will stop any attack. Think about that. If you block, you can stop any attack. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't. There is no more unblockables while Brooklyn Brawler is active. Again, another character just like Black Panther that can do that. That's why he's on my list. He's on my B list. And Strong Arm, while Brooklyn Brawler is active, range attack, damage, and impact are increased by 25%. And that's pretty good if you want to try to use some range. And Unfair Advantage grants 25% more energy to Brooklyn Brawler when collecting heroic orbs. So you can also get 25% more energy collecting heroic orbs. Now, his movement is pretty standard. Wall run. He does his dodge. His dodge window is pretty high. He can vault. He can't pick where he vaults, but and he also does a double jump in the air like Black Panther. Again, the reason I think he's a B tier and not an A tier is just because he doesn't really like give back health to the team. Really, like that's not really what he's there for. But he tanks really well. He just doesn't really like. He's not really reviving nobody. He's not really bringing nobody up. He's definitely a B tier character. Just as clear as day. He's middle of the road, but he's really strong. One of the strongest characters in the game, and he can just spam takedowns left and right. It's insane how good he is. And now we'll just get down to the end of my list here. Let's get down to my C. I didn't want to have a D list character, but I think we need a D list character, so my C and D list characters. Alright, I'm not trying to cause a riot, okay? I'm not trying to cause a fight, okay? I don't want people to lose their mind, okay? But here it is. C is Black Widow, D is the Hawk. Simple as that. It's time to talk about it so you guys can see exactly why I picked this and what this means. Let's get into it. Alright, as you can see, Black Widow is another character whose intrinsic ability, like Iron Man, is actually used elsewhere. She has defensive capabilities. So we're going to talk about her intrinsic and we're going to talk about her defense. So Widow Line is her grappling hook. You know, that's her movement. She can launch herself further like Miss Marvel. That's simple. She can also use Widow Line to attack enemies from a distance. It does low damage, low impact, low stun, but it does knock down. So she can actually put that into a combo. There's Widow Sting. She can do that before enemies attack her. It's a parry. It breaks block. The resistance is reduced, making it easier to interrupt. But it does low damage, medium impact, but it does cause a stagger. And she has Whiplash. Whiplash is pressing triangle immediately after the parry, and this will allow her to execute a chokehold maneuver. And this does break the block, so it does break the enemy's block. The damage is low, the impact is low, the stun is low, but it causes a knockback because she's all about separation. Black Widow is really all about being attacking her enemies and them not even noticing her. She is the Black Widow after all. So she has pretty good dodging. She can also pick where she wants to go with her vault. Her vault interrupts attacks like Miss Marvel's and Black Panther's, and it also breaks block. Her specialty, you see her intrinsic ability here, is Shadow Ops. Now, it's damage. So what you're going to look at her intrinsic for. This meter triggers an overcharge state, increasing all damage by 20%. As you see, again, there's no real defensive purposes here. She had her whole defensive thing, but let's be honest. If someone's shooting at her, she's going to have a problem. She's going to have to dodge that. She's not like Hawkeye, where she can just immediately just dodge it. She's not like Kate, where she can teleport from it. You're going to have to be on your P's and Q's with her. Espionage increases the amount of her Shadow Ops by 15%. The amount of intrinsic energy granted. Benefits out, increases critical attack chance, which is great. Who doesn't like to show she's really big on crit by 15% while overcharged. This is one of her better ones. Smoke Grenade is one of the better ones in the game, honestly, because again, you want her invisible. But the negative with this is too high to put her high on the list. It drains all her intrinsic energy, but she does goes into invisibility. She cloaks herself, but it drains all her energy. Escape Artist increases the invisibility by 2 seconds, so she can get out of the fight, but she does lose all her intrinsic energy when she does it. Deception, perfect evading gives her 50% more intrinsic energy, which is for 50 points of it, which is good. And Subversion, critical attacks grant 50% more Shadow Ops energy. So again, you can easily keep her intrinsic energy up. Now let's get to her support, which is my favorite support in the game, Veil of Shadows. Veil of Shadows breaks the block, makes her invisible. All team members nearby become invisible, and invisible players can't be tracked and lose all aggro, which is really great. So if you put her with a person that gains aggro, like Miss Marvel, Hawk, or Cap, and have her send whoever else is in the fight invisible while they gain all the aggro, you guys can get critical strike chances like left and right. So she helps out so much. Having a Widow on your team is so great, but playing a Widow, it takes a lot of skill, a lot of patience. Unseen Fate, enemies with low health that are affected by this will instantly become able to be taken down, which is great because you see a lot of her stuff is low stuns, because she's about hitting multiple times. So it's really great that you can actually do this and enemies with low health can spam takedowns. With Shadow Walker, defeating enemies with this will continue the ability to continue longer. Now, what you don't know is she has a high crit rate with her range, and while she's invisible as well. So there's like passes and stuff you can put on her that this will continue to keep her invisible by just using her Magnum and just doing headshots. So that's also something great. That's just a little extra, because I don't want people to think I'm harping on Black Widow. I like Black Widow. I think she's really good, but I see that she comes with a very good amount of difficulty. So Dark Thorn. 20% increased damage in nearby enemies when activating Unveil Shadows, which is great. So when you can run into a crowd. Actually, what you could do is get your intrinsic all the way up, throw the grenade out, get in the middle of everybody, activate the Veil Shadows, and 20% damage, just that. And whoever's weak gets takedowns. If you put it with Eclipse, increases the range of Veil Shadows, so she can do the largest I've seen was like a whole radius of a combat. So that's really dope. But that also will get your tanks in the Veil Shadows as well. So if you have a tank trying to pull aggro, you want to be careful how you do it, because you don't want to get in the tank's way. So you want to engage combat from a distance and then call it, so you can move out that radius so the aggro can still stay in the tank. Night Terror is pretty good support. Increases duration of the Veil Shadows by 3 seconds and increases critical attack chance by 2. So by 25%, which is really, really good, because again, she already has passes for critical attack chance. And if you partner that with the Vices Obscurum, increases the duration that teammates remain invisible after being cloaked for an additional 5 seconds, which is pretty cool. You can run it with Shadow Gifts though. Enemies defeated with Veil Shadows active have a 35% chance to drop Heroic Orb, so you can continue spamming it. And Mortal Cloak increases the critical attack chance of teammates cloaked with Veil Shadows by 30%. So her teammates can also get a huge crit rate. Plus, you can extend the duration of it, or you can drop Heroic Orbs, which is really good. Now, her Saw Heroic, hit or miss. It does a very high stun. Widow's Bite does a very high stun, and it does shock damage. And it breaks block, high damage, high impact. It's good. It really is good. It's very missable though. We're just being honest. It's very missable. It's not a lock on. You have to lock onto the enemy to do it. Now it also comes with additional charges by itself. That's a passive second sting. Now, and it comes with a risk of stingers. You get another additional charge, and that's just natural. It just comes with its own. And then it comes with the support of Super Static Dart, and it increases your range in the electric field by 35%. So when you hit an enemy, the electricity can spark out, and there's another enemy nearby, you can spam out, which is pretty good. Or if you miss it, if you're in the enemy's vicinity, it'll get hit. You also can do Paralyzing Bite, which is really good because you want to go for stuns and takedowns. Takedowns are very important in this game, as I'm saying. So she has Paralyzing Bite with 40% more stun damage, increasing the chance to stun enemies. So she can do this and spam stun with the radius extended on this. So she does have that really good utility. Again, none of the characters in this game are bad. I want to say that. Some characters just have a way higher stun. She has a stun, but it's really only associated to her heroic and her ultimate. So there's something to think about. Alright, so she also has Taser Dart. Now it attaches to an enemy and it explodes and deals shock damage to nearby enemies. Then there's Invigorating Bite. Defeat at least one enemy with Widow's Bite will recharge it by 20%. Then there is Lightning Fist. Widow's Bite goes into her gauntlet and turns the heroic ability to a lightning fast melee attack that sends nearby enemies flying, increasing the charge rate as well. So the damage is high, the impact is high, the stun is low, but it does fly back and it breaks block. So, but if you could combo that with the Paralyzing Bite to help her do more stun damage. Lethal Bite gives her another charge, which will bring her total to 4 charges, I believe. So there's that. And then there is her ultimate heroic, Power Surge. The attacks deal shock damage, provides a 15% reduction in incoming damage, so she can get up and close. Breaks blocks, damage is medium, impact is very high, so it pushes, you get the impact, so you're pushing them back, so you can attack, because again, she doesn't want to be attacked, she wants to attack, and it does a reaction to stagger. The passive is Pistol Surge. Pistol damage and reload speed is increased by 20% when it's active, and range power attack charge time is slightly reduced. So, that crit, she can pull that off with pistols as well, so you actually don't need to get in close if you don't want to. Now, Maelstrom, if you hold square, she does a sweeping staff attack that interrupts enemies, does a knockdown, breaks block again, medium damage and high impact, because again, she doesn't want to be hit. Light Storm is her first one that does a good amount of stun damage while she's doing it. If you hold it while in the air, she'll break the block, she'll knock enemies back, but she'll do medium stun, high damage and high impact. Some of the passives here are Galvanic Bite. Increases the damage of it by 20%. You can combo that if you want to with Kilowatt. Increases the stun damage by 30%. Again, stun is very, very, very huge, so you definitely want to increase your stun damage as much as possible. Power Staff, it increases the damage by 35%. While Power Surge is active, it already has a pretty high damage, so you can actually get some maximum damage out of this. You get extended duration with Power Grid by 4 seconds. Then there's Vanquishing Surge. Defeating enemies with Power Surge is active with 15% chance to drop regions for all teammates. And Indomitable Force increases damage resistance to 30% and reduces the severity of hit reactions for some enemy attacks while Power Surge is active. And that's Widow. And so you see why I said she is pretty much a character that is really good depending on how you build her. Naturally, she's a tactical character that takes a lot of technique to use. That's why I like Widow. If you use Widow right, with the right amount of combinations, Widow is extremely good. But again, she's not a character that people will just pick up and take to, because she takes some understanding of her mechanics to really figure out. And it also can be said about the last character on the list, the D character, the Incredible Hulk. Let's talk about it. Alright, so the Incredible Hulk is one of my favorite characters in the game. This list is not biased. He was the first character I took to. When I lost all my save file, I hated it. My champion level was so high with Hulk. But, I got the chance to replay with him, fall in love with him all over again. But losing my characters, I was able to actually play with the roster instead of just playing with the characters that I like. And that's when I seen everybody's strengths, everybody's weaknesses, what made everybody unique, and which brought me to the painful realization that the Hulk he's kind of just like a one-trick pony compared to the others, what they have going for themselves. But that also can be said of his strength. I want to encourage people to use the Hulk as much as possible. Maybe after you hearing about what his strengths and weaknesses are, you'll see him as a character that is really needed, especially for like OLTs and stuff like that. But let's break down the Hulk and let's talk about it. So first thing we want to talk about is his range, his intrinsic ability. Now, attacking enemies and receiving damage gives him rage. When rage is active, his defensive strength is increased and all attacks should increase by 15%, and he recovers willpower. Holding R2 to activate rage will under the willpower, the bar has to visibly be green to charge. We know that, everybody knows that. Activating rage just before enemy attack connects to parry, lowering the resistance of the attacker with the terrifying roar. That's just fun to watch and fun to see. So that he reduces damage while doing that, as well as anybody in the nearby areas. All of their damage will be interrupted. So that's pretty good. That's his parry. He interrupts with rage. His damage is medium. His impact is low. His stun is low, but his stagger is extremely high. We get to Devil's Rampage. Takedowns boost the energy of his meter by 15 points, and Klaxon Frenzy boosts the energy of his enrage meter when performing a perfect evade by 10 points. Cataclysm. When rage is full, attacking builds up extra energy to overcharge it. While overcharged, rage is automatically active and damage from all sources is increased by 20%. In order to stay overcharged, keep attacking enemies and parrying. Once you get hit or non-attacking enemies, it will go away. That is a big downfall to the character. I cannot state that enough. It encourages you to stay in the fight, but when there's characters like Kate who just get her energy, Hawk drops down. Unfortunately, he drops down a lot on my list. So there's Control Chaos as well, reduces the cost of rage by 20%. There's Monster Mayhem, further reduces the cost of using rage and the amount of energy boosted from attacking and taking damage by 15%, which is great. Survival Instincts, 100% willpower recovery while rage is active. 100% willpower recovery, so the man can just keep himself going. There's also Gamma Siphon, 50% reduction in damage from any Gamma attacks, just natural for him. There's he should take, in my opinion, I wish he should take no damage from Gamma, but anyways. There's Unstoppable Ferocity, increases the maximum energy value of the rage meter by 15%. And then there is Unbearable Might, increases all damage while rage is overcharged by 20%. So while overcharged, he does a significant amount of damage. There's a 15% damage increase normally, and so he's a 35% damage increase with overcharge, which is insane. Also, it does a 20% increase, so he can get about 45 damage increase while overcharged. He's one of the few characters in the game that his intrinsic ability just pretty much sets him up to just go crazy. So you're looking at him to be able to get rage, stay rage, take attacks to build rage, and deal out damage to stay in rage to deal the maximum amount of damage. His movement is poor. Just calling it like I see it. He can scale walls. He can hold on to them and jump off, and that sounds cool. It's not that great. His dodge window is pretty poor too. As you can see there, those are yellow dodges. The fast ones are going to hit him. The heavy ones he can get away from, but the fast ones are going to hit him. That's just what it is. But technically, you want the fast ones to hit him. You want the easy ones to hit him, or you could just parry it with rage. So there's that as well. But he can't really just like dodge those. Don't try to dodge those for perfect attacks. It's a waste of time. There's the bounding jump while moving. You can. This is so stupid, but yeah. You can jump. It increases the height and distance the more you jump. That's how he acts. That's how he moves. That is how he moves. Don't try to run with him. You're not gonna keep up with your team. Jump. That's how he moves. Again, it's not as cool as it should be. Bone Shaker. This is where Hawk gets really fun. Bone Shaker increases defense and it taunts everybody. It breaks blocks immediately. Damages medium. The impact is extremely high, so everybody's staggered. There's a low stun, but he'll make up for that in a second. Support heroic upgrade with resonant frequency. His duration is by 4. That's a normal passive for itself. Frenzy. You're immune to status effects, and increases duration again by 4 seconds, which is great. So he is immediately immune to status effects when he's in Bone Shaker, and his defense is up, and his duration is 4. His duration is up by 8 seconds for Bone Shaker. But then you get to Unsteady Ground, and enemies affected by Bone Shaker take 25% more stun damage. Good to know, because that affects the enemies immediately by Bone Shaker for your whole team, which is great. You really want that, because takedowns is where it's at. Now, defeating 5 enemies with Bone Shaker is active to extend his duration by 5 seconds, so you can continuously keep Bone Shaker going by defeating enemies with that stun bonus, which is great, because defeating enemies who are taunted by Bone Shaker gives you regen packs as well, so that's pretty cool. There's also, and that's those abilities name are Savage Regeneration and Rampaging Bone Shaker. If you want to run his effectiveness, Savage Regeneration is really good. There is Bone Shaker Regeneration. Defeating 5 enemies with Bone Shaker is active in order to restore all willpower. I use this, but it's not as good as Rampaging Bone Shaker or Bone Shaker Rage, but we'll get to that. Savage Heroism. Defeating enemies who are taunted by Bone Shaker drops heroic energy, and that's good because if you want to spam him out, but most of his assault heroic is not really that great. I'm gonna be honest with you, it does a massive amount of damage, but it takes a lot of time to charge up, and if you're fighting a shitload of enemies at one time, it might actually move you out of the combat away from your squishier characters. So something to think about. Bone Shaker's Rage. Defeating 5 enemies with Bone Shaker's active instantly refills all of the rage. This is the one that you want to have on. In all actuality, this is really the one you want to have on, because if he can stay in rage, Hawk is goated. He's goated. That's where you want to keep him. You want to keep him in rage as much as freaking possible, especially since it just goes away. Savage Intimidation. Support heroic is going to attacks from taunted enemies have reduced impact. So this can also reduce the damage of everybody attacking you. Again, I really think Savage Generation is probably the best one. This will be the second one, Savage Intimidation. Let's get to its Assault Heroic here. It's a high stun. It's great. Stranglehold is great, especially against the bigger enemies, because if you hold it down, you will trigger a slam animation, which will take you into a takedown of some enemies as well. It brace blocks, high damage, high impact, high stun. It's a knockback and it's a launch. So the smaller, squishier enemies are just GG. It comes with the passive Siphoning Grass. Restores up to 60% of willpower based on the amount of damage dealt with Stranglehold. Again, if you go to a takedown, you can just get your health back easily. Raging Grass grants up to 100% bonus rage energy based on the amount of damage dealt by Stranglehold. Again, getting in rage is the way to go. So you want to stay in rage. Now, Heroic Destruction is a 50% chance to defeat an enemy will generate a Heroic Orb, probably the best one you want to go for here. On the other side of this here for the passives is going to be Destructive Health. 50% chance defeating an enemy will generate a Regen Pack. So you can spam heroic and regions back to back, keep them in the fight. There's Devastating Charge, deals 200% more stun damage at the end of the Stranglehold heroic ability. That is the way to go. Keep them takedowns going, man. Hawk is really good for that. Barbaric Charge. Stranglehold taunts nearby enemies and instantly overcharges the eccentric rage ability. Again, stay in rage, man. You can stun and just take down and stay in rage and keep your health and your damage up at the highest max. This is probably one of the better ways to run Hawk. There is Irradiating Destruction. Now, on the final slam, you can do a hazard area of Gamma. Enemies inside the area will take a small amount of additional damage as well as gamma damage. Then there's Double Strangle, grants additional charge of Stranglehold heroic ability, which is pretty good too. But it's like if you want to do the gamma one is pretty cool. It looks cool, but that's done in the rage is probably one of the better. Or if you want to get your orbs back, is probably one of the better ways to go, in my personal opinion. Because you want to keep him in the fight. Now, his ultimate heroic, Thunderclap, is going to break block, do high damage, high impact, low stun, send enemies flying. It sends out a shockwave. Its passive immediately is heavy-handed. Increases the damage by 25%. And then there's Fly Swatter, and it destroys projectiles and increases damage by 25%. So it's a 50% increased damage. You can really clear a room with Thunderclap. It's really good. It's a really good utility to use. Now you can also do Epic Simmer, and a distant Thunderclap is increased by 30%. So we're talking 50% damage increase and 30% range. As you can see that distance. That's pretty far. There's also regeneration. There's 50% chance of defeating enemies with Thunderclap will cause them to drop Regen Packs, which is really freaking good, considering he has to get hit to build up his rage as well as deal damage. Ground Zero is the one I use. I like this one because it creates a vacuum, brings them in, and then launches them out, and it gives you gamma damage to enemies in the area, plus regenerating willpower for you and your teammates. So I like Ground Zero. I have Ground Zero with the recovery. Defeating enemies with Thunderclap will also give you 50% heroic or drop. That's what I'm using. Then there's Fault Line. Thunderclap Shockwave into a narrow area. Effect increases both damage and stun by 25%, demolishing damage and stun by 25%, destroying enemies. So this is really good if you want to keep with that takedown meta, which is really good. Enemies who survive Thunderclap with Thunderclap Taunt is taunted. So this is probably the top tier way to run it, and then this is also a good second, so you can keep that stun damage up, as you can see, because that's where he lands. And this is my tier list from top to finish. Like I said, I like my characters. I like all the characters in the game. Some characters are superiorly better than others just based on their abilities and what they can bring to the team. No character in this game is bad. Every character in this game is unique, and they all bring something different to the table. And your list might be different than mine, but let's just all agree that these characters are pretty dope, and they all have something really interesting about them going on. And that is the video. This is a long one, but I was gonna do a tier list. I was gonna do it right. It was gonna break everybody down, and I was talking about the reasons why I made them where they are, where I put them. Can't wait to see your tier list, and